What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I did a thing the other day. Tyrone had me watch the original The Flash. The original. Like, I think it came out in 1990. Like, it's like really dated. But I thought that because I watched the most recent one with Ezra Miller, um, it would be cool to watch the original. So we sat there, we watched it, and it was like I had a good time watching it. It was pretty darn funny, I gotta say. Like, it had its really funny moments. So it was kind of interesting to see uh how he became, and everything was familiar to me because I just finished watching The Flash. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's how this happened. Of course, in the beginning, he's he works with the police, but he is like forensics kind of detective type of thing. He's not really a cop. And his brother's a cop, his dad's a cop or ex-cop. And in the beginning, they're all sitting there, having cake, and they're talking, and you can tell, like, they all have a really good relationship. But his dad is has such a he holds his brother at like a higher type of standard. Like, he's so proud of him, he's such a good cop, and then he's like looking at him, Barry, and he's just like, at one point he gets called, and they're all kind of just hanging out, and they're after these guys who this biker crew. um I can't stop thinking about how dated this is, but it was so funny to just see, like, the way that they were making this movie, the way that they had him running. Like, it was so cool. So they were after these biker guys, who later on I found out the leader was um his brother's ex-partner, and he was a corrupt cop. And they didn't understand, they didn't know yet who these bikers were, and so they've been kind of going after them. And so he got a call, I guess, to go into the lab, and his dad makes a comment to him, something about tripping over a footprint or something like that. And he kind of looked at his dad like, really? And his dad is just like, what? Like, he's not taking him seriously in what he does. He really does enjoy what he does. And when it comes to his brother, he's like this big time cop, and he's just so proud of him. So his brother gets the luxury of, you know, being in the news and in the media, talking about how he's going to go after these guys and everything. And so these guys are trying to just tear up the town entirely. But um the one who's the head leader of this biker crew knows who Barry's brother is. And that's why they're, he's after him. He's literally after vengeance. And of course, if you guys have seen the original, you guys know that the gist of that was that he wanted to get back at Barry's brother, because Barry's brother, turned him in because he was a crooked cop, and that was his partner. So he was just tearing up the city and everything, and they didn't know about this until later on. So of course we see that Barry and his lab partner are doing stuff, they're busy, he stays late, and of course he's mixing stuff around. There's a storm coming, and all of a sudden you see, lightning come through the window. Like, the way that he like jumped back was like ridiculous. I was like, yo, he jumped back a little too hard. But again, I enjoyed it. So then from there, like, the whole office was messed up and everything. And so his partner came in, he got electrocuted, of course. And then he ended up in the hospital. He's in the hospital, but he's like fine. Like, he's putting on his shirt, and he's just like, we got to catch these guys. We got to. And his family and even the doctor got upset with him, because it's just like, you really shouldn't be doing anything. You just got electrocuted. Like, what are you doing? And he's just like, I'm not going to sit around and, wait. And he's got a girlfriend, Iris, who, is kind of a little, she's not trying to rush things in their relationship, but he, wants to marry her, and he wants to settle down and stuff. And you can kind of see that they're kind of in the midst of that. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail, but you can tell that's been a conversation in their relationship. And so, you know, she's cool with the family and everything. So after that, they're in the lab and his partner comes, they're talking, and at one point you see him reaching for his coffee and the coffee goes flying to the wall. And he's looking and he's just like, it must have slipped out of my hand, you know? And from there, it starts to, you know, show us how he becomes the Flash. So, you know, there's this lady gets who gets in contact with him because his doctor referred him to a specialist, and she's the specialist that is trying to figure out what's going on with him and why he's having these symptoms. And his doctor's running all these tests, and you know, he's just like, you know, I'm not going to this specialist, I've heard about that place. And then he ends up going, and you know, this lady who is the specialist ends up, you know, testing him for stuff, and they're going back and forth. And he's basically like, I heard of a lot of bad things about the company, and you know, I heard that someone even died. And she was like, yeah, that's my husband. And so at that point he was just like, oh. So, you know, at first you can't really tell what her intentions are. Like at one point she was unlocking a door and the look on her face, I was like, I don't know, she seems sketchy. You know, but then it wasn't that she was up to no good. She really wanted to analyze why he was so fast, what was happening. And so it was hilarious at one point because there was one point where he was supposed to meet his girlfriend. His girlfriend is an artist and she was at a gallery or something. And he was supposed to be there in like half an hour. He was already running late. And something happened in his apartment. I forgot what it was. So he started to become like, I don't know, like, of course we see that his appetite has gotten, you know, a lot. His metabolism started to burn faster because of his speed. So at one point he was just like, oh man, I'm running late. So he goes to his car, I don't know, something happened to his car. So then he went to go chase after a bus. And he went so fast that he ended up half an hour away at a beach in the water somewhere. And when he ends up coming out of that water, he's walking towards a payphone. His clothes are so torn apart. It looks like an animal came and was just clawing at him. Like, he looked so torn apart. His clothes were just ripped all over the place. And I was like, it was hysterical. It was so hysterical. And I'm like, how the hell is he going to explain this to his girlfriend? And he tried to. She was just like, yeah, you were trying to catch a bus and you ended up where? You know? So the specialist was now trying to investigate why he's so fast, put him on a treadmill. He freaking broke the treadmill. And so they're testing it. They're going around, you know, and, you know, long story short, she kind of told him like, look, your speed is making you, you know, he started to kind of feel dizzy and he wasn't feeling that well. And, you know, then she ended up giving him a suit that kind of protected him and things like that. And the whole time, you know, he was using this to try to solve the case of these bikers and things like that. And so there was, you know, one point when we saw that his brother was talking to the press and these bikers came and just started shooting up the place. So then the bikers are in their like little cave or whatever, and they're watching the news, and they're like all celebrating what they did. And then that's kind of where we find out, you know, who this leader is and you know, why he wants to go after them so bad. And so there's this chick in the biker crew who, I guess she was messing around one of the bikers, and then she was messing around with the leading guy. She ratted one of them out. So she went to go report back to the leading guy about something, and she picked up a book that he had, and on the book it said police biker forces, something like that. And I was just like, wait a minute, he was a police officer? And so later on, when they were all celebrating what they did and everything, it kind of was just like, oh shoot, that was, you know, we found out that that's what is his partner, and because he ratted him out, now he wants his head. So eventually he kills his brother, and now Barry is out for blood, right? So he's not going to stop until he gets him. He's not going to stop until he gets this guy. And I forgot this guy's name. But he ends up catching him. But all the stuff that he does to try to catch these guys were absolutely insane. So he looked, the way that Ezra Miller looks as the Flash is so different from the way the original Flash looked and the person who played him. Like, he was built like the suit that he was wearing. Like, it was so cool to see. He looks like a superhero, you know, the type of image that you think of when you're a kid as a superhero, you know what I mean? But he was, you know, of course, more mellow than the new Barry that we recently saw. And, you know, he's not a teenager. He's not, you know, lazy. He's not doing all these crazy things. They have two different personalities. But anyway, at one point I thought that the specialist was falling for him. I think that she was, but then they ended up showing up at his house one day and his ex was there because they had broken up at some point. I was just like, oh boy. But that wasn't really bad. So anyway, they ended up catching the dude, and then Barry was just like, I need something to cover my face so nobody knows that it's me. And the specialist is just like, no, like, I can't do that. Like, you don't even know how far you can go. And he eventually got, you know, the face covering and everything. So he had a whole entire suit. And, you know, when his brother got killed, you know, that really hit him hard. So, you know, I think he kind of wanted to prove to his family that he was good enough as well. And he had vengeance for his brother. And he wanted to catch this guy who killed his brother. And he ended up catching him all right. He ended up catching him. I'm trying to remember how he killed him. I think he shot him or something. And yeah, so it was kind of cool to kind of see that movie. And like I said, like, I had a lot of fun watching it. It was so funny to see him running. Like, it almost like he was kind of doing this. Like, he was not glitching in a sense, but of course, you know, if you see the new Flash, you can kind of see him whizzing around and stuff like that. So because of the time that this movie came out, it was so funny because all you saw was fast movements doing this. I was like, yo, like, that was just so funny watching him run around like that. But it was pretty fun. I liked it. I really, really did. I think I give it, like, I don't know, only because it's dated. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 toodles because it's dated, but I had such a good time watching it. So there's my review for the original The Flash movie. But if you guys have watched it, if you guys watched the original, please let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought. If you enjoyed my review, let me know as well. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Doodles!